どうしているだろうか。ま、好きにすればいい。
おっしゃる通りです。
時間は超えなきゃいかんようだ。
おっしゃる通りです。
時間は超えなきゃいけないのだ。
そのように私の瞳をじっと見つめるのはやめた方がいい。何を見てしまうかも限らないからな。
おっしゃる通りです。
貫け。
絹のような弱さね。どの目が出るかかかれ。逃げ道はあります。痛がっちゃいないわ。
権限。やっちょっとちょっと 権限。月のように永遠な。
この同点。同点についてのご
貫く
裁きの雷。次かかれ。終わりで撤収。よっ。また雨。まったく面倒ね。痕跡が雨水で流されると復元に時間がかかるのよ。
はっ。
やっ
権限。
逃げ道はありません。はっはっはっはっはっ。ファッション、私が提起する。痛がっちゃいないよ。
星と深淵を無事今日の依頼。星と深手伝って。
いやと貫く落ちる権限。
次。へっやっやっへっへっ。紅に染まって散りなさい。やっ。
眩しい日の光、鬱陶しいわね。こんなんじゃ居眠りもできないじゃない。
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. I just wanted to pop in and do that. I've been playing Wuthering Waves. I actually just beat chapter or Act 6 of their main story. I think it's like chapter 1, Act 6, or whatever. Essentially, I've caught up, I believe. And it's a fun game to play, but the storytelling could leave much to be imagined. They rush things way too quickly. So I've gotten to the end. I mean, there definitely are some cool moments, and I think there are moments that are cooler than Genshin, but they also don't make sense. Like they're like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Let's not make a story that has any logical consistency. Let's just go for a lot of cool moments, and that's kind of what they've done. And they're like, quick, let's get the next cool moment rushed up. Like let's blast through this. Let's ignore plot. Let's ignore character development. Let's ignore world building. Let's just quickly go on to the next thing. I mean, it'd be like if they had to like condense Genshin on release, so Mondstadt and Leeway, and the completion of Leeway, because technically on release Genshin didn't complete Leeway's story arc. It's like this game tried to complete the prologue of Mondstadt and the entirety of Leeway's story, so including the Lord of the Worlds part, all in one, right? Like, but still, like, tell it in the time frame of the Mondstadt storyline. Like, storyline, it takes you about, but see, I feel like, and it's been a while since I played Mondstadt, so like, I've forgotten, but it feels like the pacing is about that of Mondstadt. So it feels like Wuthering Waves takes you as long to complete the main story as you do to complete the main story of Mondstadt. But it also like tries to get all the cool moments of both Mondstadt and Leeway. And the only way to do that in that short period of time is to cut out humongous chunks of all the shit that happened in the game, and just present you with the coolest moments. And it's just like there are moments where you're like, oh no, this person's sacrificing themselves. But it's like, dude, like I just started playing the game like a few days ago, like I don't know these characters. I don't care about all of them. Having all these like cool moments, like it doesn't really matter. Like I don't know these people. Like them sacrificing themselves, like doesn't mean anything to me. Like you keep bringing up all this terminology for the world, but like you haven't told us what those terms mean. So it's like I don't know what the Pioneer Association is. I don't know what the Threnodian is. I don't know what the Lament is. It's like you tell us these terms before you actually explain them. And that actually like has happened like in one thing where like they mentioned this term and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then like a line or two later I'm able to ask, what you mentioned that term, what the fuck is that? And it's like, yeah, exactly. This person should have explained it right from the get-go, right? She shouldn't have to wait a few dialogue boxes later for us to ask the question. It should just tell you because we don't fucking know. And same for like the general like story. Like the world is actually built very well. It's built very realistically. Like when I'm actually exploring, it's like, oh wow, this actually is kind of a post-apocalyptic world. It's like it's this world that has this main city, but as we go out and explore, we actually do see remnants of civilization. Like yeah, there are bases here, there are stuff here, there are camps there. Like we come across actual like buildings and bases. It's like, oh okay, so it does feel like yeah, this was a lived-in area before kind of shit hit the fan. And the world kind of got fucked, and there still are people out and about. Like we go to some of these like military style bases, and there are like random NPCs there, and like military people. So it's like it feels realistic. It feels like, oh, okay, this is doable, but like that's it. Like we have no explanation. We don't know why the world is like this. We don't know who we are. I mean, we obviously don't know who we are because we have amnesia. So it's like I get that, part of it, but like they just do it poorly. Like we have amnesia, but they don't explain shit, right? And that would be fine. Like so, like Genshin, it was fine with just having Paimon do her stupid thing and having us slowly learn because we had the time to slowly learn. It's like, yeah, we're slowly learning, and Mondstadt was the smallest zone with the smallest city, so it was fine, right? But like Wuthering Waves, it starts out and it's like, nope, here's this humongous fucking city. It's way too big, has lots of people. You're never gonna meet any of them. They didn't localize any of the names, so it's a bunch of Chinese names. So it's like great that like it just. I'm not saying you don't have to. Like obviously, Liyue had a lot of Chinese names too because they're both based in China. But like every name and that's the thing is that there are far more named NPCs like just random ones that just have a name even if you can't interact with them that have these names, and it's like Liyue just doesn't bother naming every single one of them, and so it's like you're not overloaded with that shit. So it's like it doesn't feel as bad. Whereas in Wuthering Waves, it's just like the city is much bigger. I think even the city would probably be bigger than Liyue, maybe, or at least has more. It's more NPCs in it. I think, or maybe Liyue. I don't know. It's kind of thing where it's one of those tough game design decisions. Like, do you make it? You don't want to make something too big because it feels overwhelming, and then you just get lost. And you don't want to like have too many NPCs, especially because it just makes it hard for you to program a lot of unique NPCs and write a lot of dialogue for every single one. So it's just like kind of how you handle that. And I think Final Fantasy XII did a really good job of it, especially way back when it was first introduced. It was like, yeah, they had the city, but you couldn't get to parts of the city. But you could see like, oh, this pathway actually does continue on, but it's blocked off at the moment. And there were a shitload of NPCs all around, but you could only interact with like 1/10 of them. So some of them were just there to be there and just make the city feel lived in. And this game, Wuthering Waves does that by having a lot of NPCs, but the problem is they name a bunch of them too, so it makes it feel like you're supposed to interact with them. And like when you do, it's just kind of meaningless, and so it's like it becomes a little overwhelming. And then the fact that they're all like these Chinese names, you're just like, I don't know what any of these names mean. Like I don't know. It's too much, right? Like it's just too much. Genshin did a better job starting at Mondstadt, so at least you have like English names, and they're doing a pretty good job. Like they introduce you new zones, and each zone has names reminiscent of the culture that they're using. So it's not even just like, oh, okay, well, because it'd be like if Genshin had every single character with a Chinese name, like Liyue. You go into Mondstadt, and it's just a bunch of Chinese names. You go into Liyue, a bunch of Chinese names. You go into Inazuma, a bunch of Chinese names. It's like it's just overwhelming. Because it makes it hard for us it makes it hard for English speakers or Western audience to differentiate between names, because we're seeing it phonetically, whereas in China with the actual Chinese characters, there is actually meaning in the characters being chosen. Even names that are very similar phonetically might use characters that are drastically different or have their own unique meanings, which makes it easier for them to like differentiate between characters. But for English speakers who actually or anyone whenever these are spelled with an actual alphabet, it just some of them sound similar, and they're just so unusual. And I get that this could just be the Liyue city of Wuthering Waves, but like I don't know. Like hopefully others. I mean, New Federation sounds. Like, obviously, the name of this city and, like, being protected by a dragon is very Chinese in and of itself. So this could just be... They could have just had their Liyue first, and other cities and regions we go to later might be more culturally diverse and have names representative of the cultures that they're kind of having on display. So maybe that'll be it. But, like, it's just kind of rough, especially... if you're going to rush the story like they did. Like you're just blasting through it. Like and they're just overloading you with terms, overloading you with like weird, like the story is so rushed. Like I was talking about other things. Like Genshin starts very well, right? And you're like, okay, you start out fighting the god and your sibling gets kidnapped. Okay. Now you wake up. Now okay, cool, like that's a big bad. We're going to eventually have to fight that god, and our goal is to find our sibling. Cool. nice. You're setting expectations. You're like, cool, that's the goal. That's the overarching goal that this game has at the moment. And then you go further, and then what's the first character you meet? You meet Venti and Dvalin, and you see the little, blood crystal thing. And so you're meeting Dvalin, and who's the final boss of the prologue of Mondstadt? It's Dvalin. So it's like you're already meeting, and you're already setting up at that point who's going to be the final boss of this area, right? And then you go to Mondstadt, which is a relatively small city with only a few notable NPCs, and you're just not overloaded. And then you have to fight Dvalin, and then Dvalin shows up, and then you have to shoot him down from the sky, which is a pretty epic moment. It also, that's when it lets you know, hey, that dragon you saw, we're going to reinforce that this is a big bad. Like, you're going to have to fight this guy. Look at all the shit that's happening. And in the process of doing that, we realize, oh, okay, actually it's the Abyss. The Abyss Order is kind of what's doing things behind the scenes, so it's kind of giving you a little hint of something. But it doesn't detract from it, because you still have to fight Dvalin. It's not like, oh, actually Dvalin's not, we fixed Dvalin, we don't have to fight him ever. No, now it's the Abyss Order, and we have to fight them. It's like, no, Dvalin is still going to be the final boss of that region, that storyline, the completion of that storyline. But now we're kind of starting the foreshadowing for, a big bad, the Abyss Order, which, in Genshin has come up repeatedly. So it's just like, it's starting that, but it gives you a little bit of information, it gets you a little bit of foreshadowing, and then explains what this is, and it makes sense, and it's going at a steady pace without seemingly going too fast. And then you defeat Dvalin, and now it's time to head to Liyue, right? And it takes you a while to get to Liyue, so you have the time to explore and enjoy yourself and stuff, and then you can finally get to Liyue. And there's no rush to get to Liyue, too. Like, they're not telling you, oh my god, you have to get to fucking Liyue, get now or now, well, there's a huge big problem coming up. It's like, no. Like, you've finished up in Dvalin, you've rescued Mondstadt from the terrors of Storm Terror, and, you put out your wanted posters for your brother and for your sibling. And then it's just like, okay, cool. Like, next quest is like, why don't you head on to Liyue? Take your time. Whereas Wuthering Waves is just so fucking rushed, where it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, here you are. You have amnesia. You've just met these people. Okay, now you're in this huge city with a fuckload of people, all of which are mentioning terms and associations and all the shit that you just don't understand or know because no one's explaining it to you. Like, even though they know you have amnesia, they're not bothering to explain how the world works, even though, yeah, whatever. And then it's like, oh, go to here. Like, here's some tokens where you have to go, find some shit. And it's just like, well, I don't know what these tokens are. Like, this is just weird, right? It's just weird all in all. It feels like very time-wasty. Then you get to the village, and you meet Scar, and he tells you this really boring and stupid story. And it's like, I don't fucking know you. I don't fucking care about the story. Don't stop giving me a story with a moral lesson. Like, I don't know this village. I don't know this world. Like, I don't know I don't know anything. I have no context for anything that's going on. And then you're just going to go on you're going to tell me a moral story, and then we fight. And so it's like, okay, it's like, so who's the big bad? Like, when we wake up, we don't have a big bad. Then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's Scar. Then Scar's going to be the big bad. Like, he's going to be the villain, right? He's part of this order that's, is a pile of assholes. Got it. And then beating him, then you meet another random girl. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess she's part of the order of assholes. Okay. And then we have our vision where we see the fucking, moon thing and this big monster thing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's the big bad. So again, we have, we see three entities that could be a villain. And, I assume at the end of the game, we're going to fight them more. It's going to develop more. But, this is, and this is Act 3. So I think even in Act 3, this is, I think you could do this all in the first day. So all in the first day of playing the game, you've met 3 people who are probably going to be villains. They're probably going to be bosses at some point, but you met 3 of them, which dilutes the experience, because you're just like, well, I'm being overwhelmed. Like, who the fuck is any of them? And you do actually fight Scar, so there is that. But then you trap Scar in Act 4. And it's like, okay, so he is a bad guy. We learn a little bit more about his organization, but then learn a bunch of other shit that just is confusing, where I have no context for what anything means. Oh, okay, so the dragon's fucked off. Okay, but I know he showed up and then created this town, but I don't know when that happened. I don't know how long ago it's been. This is a recent thing. Was this hundreds of years ago? and like this is the first time it's been happened. Like, we just have no context for what his disappearance means, other than them saying it's bad. People will be worried. It's like I got that, but like why? You know, I don't know enough about this town to make a thing about it. So they just keep constantly pumping with this shit. We're just like, okay, well, what's going on? And then the story just continues and just keeps rushing forward. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then it's like, it's crazy because it's like, oh, okay. And then like at the end, you're gonna have to fight one of the Threnodians, and they don't tell us what a Threnodian is before mentioning, oh my God, you're gonna have to fight one. Like they're trying to like revive a Threnodian, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then you're just like, oh, okay. So it's like essentially like a god, kind of like a demigod or a god. Compiled of human emotions and crap. It's like, okay, I guess, like, sure, like, but it's like, really? So the prologue of your game is show up and then say, okay, stop this organization from reviving this god, and so it's like, because there's the whole meme of like for Final Fantasy where it's like, oh, okay, quest number 1, collect 5 twigs, or collect 5, kill 5 wolves, like final quest, kill a god, that thing. It's like, yeah, but this is the prologue, and it's like, go kill a god. Yeah, you have to kill a god to save the world from being destroyed, like save humanity from being destroyed from this god. And like, what? Like that's the prologue, and it's epic and cool. Like, yeah, let's fight a god, sure, but like, no, you're just like thrown into it right away. And I think that's bad storytelling. It's too rushed. They haven't developed the world enough. They haven't developed the characters enough. And then like I did Ling Yang's character quest when it was available, because it just gives you a shitload of level experience for your adventure rank or whatever the hell I forget what they called it in Wuthering Waves, but I was doing that, and then it's just like, oh, you meet this NPC that you've never met before, and she's like, oh, I'm in the Pioneer Association, and I've forgotten what that was because we haven't really been introduced to what the Pioneer Association is, which apparently is very similar to the Adventurers Guild in Genshin. It's like, oh, okay, like, you didn't really explain it at all. She's like, oh, I just wanted to be this. And then it's like, oh, learning about her brother who's gone off and is going after this jingle beast. And we're like, well, I have no fucking clue what that is. I don't know if that's normal. Is that a normal thing? Like, is this... Like, I don't know enough about the world to have any sort of context to any of this shit. And then we go and fight, and we go find her brother who was with a bunch of, like, bandits, essentially. But, like, we have no explanation for what these bandits are. Like, why the fuck are there bandits here? Like, why are, like, when the world's being fucked over by echoes and these tacit discord shit, why the fuck are there assholes out there like robbing people and being bandits, like, and being thieves? And it's a common trope. Even Genshin has the thieves group. I forget what they call again. Whatever. Essentially the thieves guild, the fortune picker, the fortune teller, or fortune stealers or something like that. Anyway, so it's like we have that, but like, who do you meet in Mondstadt? Who are you fighting in Mondstadt? You're fighting hilichurls and monsters, hilichurls and creatures, right? That's it. I don't even think there are bandits in Mondstadt. Maybe there are, but like they're so few and far between. Where it's like, okay, it's understandable why there might be a collection of bandits here and there, sure, but most of it is actual monsters. And to be fair, like that is a lot of it too in Wuthering Waves. There are a lot of monsters, but you're also fighting humans that are part of an organization that you're not properly introduced to, and just random bandits, and no real explanation for that. And so later on in the story, you're like, oh, okay, that's, I guess those red guys are part of this organization. I get it now, I guess, kind of. And so that's why they're assholes, because that's what they do, I guess. But like, it's just not enough explanation. And then so we have to go and defeat the Jingle Beast, and it's like, okay, so we actually do that, and it's like about these assholes, and it's about this finding the brother and sister, and having like helping her conquer her fears. But it's like, I don't know this NPC. Like, we didn't interact with this NPC at all, ever. Like, she just randomly showed up, and now it's like we have to go save her brother. It's like, okay, standard, fare for an adventurer. Just, oh, okay, well, we need to rescue someone, sure, we'll go and do it, right? But it's like, then it's like this whole thing of trying to help her overcome her fears, and it's like, and then it's just the lion dance. And I guess maybe Genshin gave Kuro Games the mistaken idea that we care with Gaming about how much we care about the lion dance, but we don't fucking give a shit. Like, Western audiences don't care about the lion dance. And so having this whole big sequence of Lin Yang doing his whole thing and doing a metaphysical representation of conquering that NPC's fears was just so stupid. And then he gives us another moral story, which is like, and this is after 1.3 where they also had another moral story. It's like, god damn, this is so fucking boring. Like, just very poor storytelling. But anyway, hello there. I was just ranting about Wuthering Waves. I beat the main story for the game in Wuthering Waves, so there were 6 acts. I beat the 6th act. And then I was popping into here to just do my dailies and stuff, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about it. It's a fun game, but I was just talking about mostly the storytelling. The storytelling is the issue I have. It's not what is happening, but just the pacing of it. And how little, it's too rushed. It's just, the pacing of the game is way, way, way too rushed, where they're just like going from the next point to the next point without properly like giving you any context for the world or the characters within it, and it makes it hard to be immersed in it because you're going so quickly. But the actual like combat and the exploration is still pretty fun. Which is like, that's what they're known for. Like Punishing Gray Ravens is like, that's their gimmick. Punishing Gray Ravens is all about the challenge of their combat. I think I did like the first chapter or 2 of Punishing Gray Ravens. I wasn't too impressed with the story there either. But it was also like, I stopped. So it's like maybe there was more to it. But I'm not sure how it released how much was released on release. So maybe they do a better job of ramping up. So I'm kind of hoping that now that this is done, now that the prologue of the game is done for Wuthering Waves, and we've interacted with the characters more, maybe more subsequent quests will get us some more information about the world, and then when they get to when they start working on their next story arc, going to another region, maybe by that point, we'll be familiar enough with the world and the people within it that it'll provide the context that we were missing when playing through the story initially, and they might be able to build off of it better for the next chapter, perhaps. We'll see. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. I just think the pacing is just a little too rushed. Makes it just hard to care, which, it's whatever. It's not a huge problem, but still it is a problem. And then there's the fact that they just make some stupid decisions sometimes. Like, they do some stupid things. We're just like, what? Like, you're concerned that your huge cannon might miss? You're aiming at a shield, a humongous fucking bubble, like, directly in front of you. Like, why are you worried about being missing? Why do you even bring that up? Yeah, I mean, I think it's free to play, so you can play on mobile or PC, but it's fine. Like, again, I think the combat is a little better than Genshin in a way. I don't know, like, I can see potential problems with it because it is very skill based, and that is the kind of cool thing. The draw is that since it's so skill based, you can actually like beat enemies ridiculously stronger than you, and you can even see enemies ridiculously stronger than you. Like, I was running around the world at level 40 exploring, and I come across a level 120 bear, and it's like, fuck that, and I could beat that, like realistically. I mean, I wouldn't, because it would be a huge waste of time, and I'd die a fuckload, because like pretty much every single hit would kill me. But you can perfect dodge everything and get out of the way, and you could kill that level 120 bear at level 40. So like, there is that's kind of cool, like the higher level enemies that you can challenge. But obviously, as you progress and level up, and ascend and all that shit, and get the world stronger, you'll have an easier use of time, because I think their level is static. So eventually you will get to like level 90, I think, which is the max level, and be relatively close to the level 120 bear. And the combat is interesting. It's a lot like about having to pay attention to the boss's movement patterns, so you can dodge and combine attacks with other characters. But I think Genshin's a little more freeing in the sense that you're just doing it's all about, like, for Genshin, it's all about elemental reactions. So it's like, it's all about building the correct party, of to elicit all those reactions. Whereas the other game is kind of like, yeah, you're just still kind of doing mostly damage. Like every character kind of wants to do damage with maybe one like healer, and then dodge everything else. So it's all about like just doing as much damage as you can while dodging as much as you can, and then throwing in your healer or support to tidy you up, give you a buff, and then swap back in. It feels satisfying when you're in the middle of things, but there are definitely some moments where it just really sucks, where you get juggled. Like an attack from an enemy, it smacks you up into the air, and now you're stuck for 5 seconds, floating around, being smacked by the enemy before you can finally land and do something. Like generally, I don't like CC like that in any sort of game, just because you can't do anything. You're stuck in the air. You literally cannot do anything. Nothing you do matters, and you're stuck like that for a few seconds, and that just feels like shit. But generally, I don't want games to do that. But it's few and far between. There's only a few enemies, and usually like boss type enemies that have an attack like that, and it's the kind of thing where if you dodged it, then it wouldn't matter. But it doesn't being told, oh, well, you just need to dodge it doesn't really help when you're already being juggled. So, but yeah, it's still a fun game. The environment is pretty cool. It's not as like vibrant as Genshin. Genshin definitely has a cheerier vibe, both in music, story tone, and just general, colors of the world. That doesn't mean it's bad. The world of Wuthering Waves is pretty detailed and interesting, and fairly realistic in how they have like actual like buildings and stuff out in the world, like even if they're ruined and stuff, and have actual NPCs like chilling at certain bases, and so I do find it. I think they built a very good world. I just think they didn't explain it properly. They didn't explain it very well, and I think that's where its faults are. But it's still fun gameplay. Anyway, that's my rant. I'd say if you're looking for, let's say play Genshin if you're looking for a more enjoyable. Well, I'd say play Genshin anyway because there's so much more content in this game, and I generally think that this game is more enjoyable, just because it is easier to a degree. Like Wuthering Waves, it will have actually does have a skill. It has like a skill. You have to be not relatively skilled, but you have to be there's a skill minimum, and if you were below that for playing the game, you're probably fucked. I beat the story. I'm not sure if you can lose. I'm not sure if I died would they just is there like a gimmicky comeback at this lower difficulty level? But if it's just if you die, you're fucked, then yeah, I could see it being tough, because there are definitely some moments where it's like, oh, you can only play as one or two characters, and if they have no method of healing you if you die or something like that, then yeah, you have to not suck and still beat that boss. But so we'll see. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.